Alright, so I just got home from work and I'm gonna get started. I should get it done tonight, it shouldn't be that hard. I'm gonna put my front springs and struts in. So I've got 2 to 3 inch adjustable shocks and heavy duty springs to go on the front, because out of the bull bar, now the front's a bit low and it annoys the shit out of me. Now, it's only a light bull bar, it's like 50 something kilos, and initially it didn't affect the height of the front too much, but now you can see it's pretty low. Now I measured it. Now I'm doing the front first, so center of the hub to the lip of the flare is 525 approximately on left and right. So that's just a guideline. At the moment the springs are set to 2 inch. We'll see how that looks. A 2 inch lifted over standard. See how that looks, and if it's too low we'll raise it up another inch. See how we go, hey? Back in a minute. Alright, so I did this pretty quickly. It's literally 10 minutes and I've got a strut, original strut out on the ground. Now, for just anyone who needs a little bit of advice, I mean, I'm going to explain that I haven't done it on a Ranger before, so if there's a better way, then feel free to comment below. But what I've done is I've just jacked the car up, so both front wheels off the ground, broke away this ball joint here, 21mm, loosened it off, gave it a few taps on the side, and then a little tap on the point, and it popped out. The nuts on the strut top, 15mm. I just used a ratchet spanner for the two, or outer and front, and the back one over there you need a socket, deep socket preferably, 15mm. And then this gigantic one at the bottom of the strut here, 27mm. Lucky I've got a 27mm socket right there, because 27mm is the same as a oil pressure sensor on an LS1, and a lot of my previous cars are LS's. Lucky. Couple of jacks here just to stop the CV from popping out, and then that thing just squeezes out. Nice and easy. A lot easier than a Colorado from what I remember. Anyway, back a bit later. Okay, so it's the next day, bit of stuffing about, but long story short, I pulled the little sort of stub, obviously, like in here in the CV we've got, there's another spline and a little locking pin, like locking ring, and when I pulled the suspension off of here and just levered it back, well, not levered, but pulled it back just to pull the shock out, I pulled the CV apart in here, and should be straightforward to put the spline back in and tap it back in, but I bent the split ring, or the locking ring, so yeah, I had to knock this all out. I was hoping to avoid it, but I had to undo the 36mm bolt here, rattle that off, pull the little stub out, bend the locking ring back and put the CV back together, and then put this all back together. Now, big comedy of errors, because I knew I had a 36 impact socket here somewhere, couldn't find it, drove the 10 minutes to the local hardware store up the freeway here, they had nothing, so that was a waste of a trip. Last night I'm talking. Came back here, did an online order for a socket in the same suburb, went back this morning to get it, and then as I'm getting some tools in the shed, I found the impact socket in my shed. Now the reason I didn't see it is because the impact socket, and it's black. So yeah, What an idiot. Now I've got 2 of them, but oh well. Back on track. Now, if I didn't have these issues, it still would have been quite quick. This would have probably taken about 15 minutes to do this side. Now, I know the sway bar link is still not attached, but because this has a bit more droop at the moment, I want to keep it detached until I do the other side. So yeah, just need to do a little bit of cleaning up on this side, and this side's done. And then we go over to the other side, put the whole suspension unit in, and we're done. Okay, so I've put it down, the vehicle down on the ground, and I did notice when I was putting the struts in that they were a bit, like, at full droop, they were a bit stiff, but they are like a medium duty coil spring. I didn't get a heavy duty because I wanted to still have reasonable ride. So I got a medium duty coil spring and adjustable shocks. Now, I was told by the company that they were set at 2 inches. They're a 2-inch to 3-inch adjustable shock, which is 50 to 75 mil range. Now, yeah, they told me it was set to 2-inch, and I knew that's probably going to be a bit taller than that. Measured the vehicle prior to removing the old suspension, and it was 525 mil from the center of the hub to the flare lip. And I just measured it again after just backing the car up and driving it forward just to settle it a little bit, and it's at 630, which from standard height is a rise of approximately 105 millimeters. Yeah, way too much. Way too much. So I'm about to put it back on the jack again and do a bit of adjustment, lower it down a bit. Alright, so I've had a chance for the suspension to settle a little bit, and I'm currently sitting at the back is standard height. Standard height is center of the hub to the lip of the flare is 590, and the front is currently sitting at 590. So rather than like from the original height, the reference is the original height 525 at the front, the initial install of the shocks and springs at the front went to 630. I'd made an adjustment and now it's at 590 as well. So height wise, we're sitting level front and back. Now I'm still going to put some lifted shackles in the back so it will rise a little bit more. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that front height. So from original height, it's raised 2.5 inches approximately. Alright, so we're back on a different night here. Got the suspension sorted out. So it's settled on about like eyebrow to center of the hub, about 580 mil in the front, and it's about 580 on the rear as well. So I'm about to put in the shackles on the back. So I've decided to go shackles because, well, in theory, when you do a shackle lift, it replaces the rear shackle of the leaf spring, which gives you the pinion tilt in the correct direction, and it also eliminates stuff like when you use lifting blocks, it eliminates the axle wrap. If you don't know what that is, probably a good idea to research it. Now I've had success with shackle lift on my Colorado, not a problem. Now what I'm showing you here, this is one of the standard shackles that I pulled out of the Ranger, and this is what I'm putting in. So this is considered as a 2-inch lift. What I've done is I'm setting this bottom pin here, so this pin here, I'm setting it to that upper hole there, So in theoretically, should be about 45-ish millimeters lift, which should account for load in the tray and toe ball down weight. So I want the back a little bit higher than the front. At the moment it's sitting even. So yeah, I've got one in and just about to do the other side. Alright, so that's a shackle in. Highly recommend that you have a tin of RP7 or CRC. It helps to slide all these pins out. Other than that, these shackles, the lift shackles, are easy. It all comes apart, and it's a good idea that you have a high lift or some sort of jack that lifts your car up or your vehicle up quite high. Then it means, well, if you can lift the vehicle up high, then you don't have to flex this spring down to be able to get the pins back in. Pretty straightforward stuff. It's a bit dark out here, so I won't do hyperlapse, but yeah, there's plenty of videos on YouTube about how to replace these shackles or change them over. You can see I just took that center pin out so that it's easy to put these in. Greased up the bushings and then put them back in. These are pretty good. They've got greasable nipples on that side and on the opposite side. So this side took probably about 10-15 minutes, and then do the other side and we're done. Alright, so just for the sake of helping viewers out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this is done. So I'm just loosening off. So this part, the side that's got the larger kick like this, goes on the inside of the chassis rail. Okay, so that's the best way to describe it, the inside of the chassis rail. So I'm removing the plate from this side. Alright, so remove that plate. Now you can't stuff this up because there's a double hole here and it matches a double hole there. So we'll just put that there for now. So if we're at the front of the Ranger looking towards the rear suspension on the passenger side, so this slots outward that way. Okay, now what I do, just so you can get a little bit more clearance for the leaf spring, undo this one, take that pin out, put this upper pin, this one here, through the chassis rail, slide the lower one through the rear bush of the leaf spring, put the middle pin back in, and then put the plate on. That goes on the opposite side there. Make sure you put a little bit of grease on all of these. If you struggle to push them in through the bushes, just put a little bit of RP7 or CRC. It is actually really straightforward. The biggest issue or the biggest snag you're probably going to have is making sure that you lift or lower the vehicle so that these can slide in comfortably. That is literally it. And plus it's freezing cold out here, so yeah, that's another obstacle I have. Anyway, back in a minute. So just quickly, by inside of chassis rail, this is what I mean. So this is the rear of the car. The front is got the front is over there. So we're looking at the rear of the car, there's a spare tyre. So problem I encountered was spare tyre comes quite close here. So when I was taking out the existing shackle here, fouled against the spare tyre. So easy thing is to lower the spare tyre out of the way. Now I've got a baby seat in the back, CVF, so I just used a pry bar to lever the leaf spring over to the left a bit, so this will pop out. Now the good thing about the lift shackles is you can take them apart completely. So I took this bottom pin out completely, slid the inner plate and that top pin into place. I'm right-handed, so I used my right hand to pull the leaf spring down and just lined up the hole. So now it's literally put the center pin in, put a little bit of grease here and here, put the other plate on, and you're done. So if you're on a hoist, this would literally be a 10-minute each side job, easy as.